Hi everybody and welcome to 442. I've got Shakes Rampedi, Oliver Keohane and me, Kevin Ferguson. Shakes, let's talk about the big elephant in the room. Bafana Bafana. What they drew against that mighty powerhouse Namibian side. And despite their ancestry of Germany, colonizing that place, not really much else in terms of soccer skills I would say that have come through that country. And we drew with them 1-1. And then they go and lose to that mighty powerhouse team Zambia, 2-1 after scoring the first goal. How shambolic is South African soccer, and why is it so shambolic?
Look, yeah, no, I'll be honest with you, Kevin. The results were not really great from a South African standpoint. Playing against Namibia, in my mind, when I watch that game, regardless if it's a friendly, doesn't matter if it's a friendly, a qualifier, or even an African Cup of Nations match, could even be a World Cup match if it has to be. I don't think there should ever be a time where we draw or lose to Namibia, and that's no disrespect to them. It's almost a similar thing with Liverpool would never have to draw with the likes of Norwich or Derby or I don't know Brighton. They're just not in the same league.
No, I don't. Well, in fairness, Norwich and Derby have played in the same league as Liverpool. I don't. I mean, if you're going to compare it to, if we're going to compare Namibia to a Norwich and Derby, that's a huge insult to Norwich and Derby. I would say they're more like a, I would say they're more like a Scunthorpe or Fleetwood United, or even worse. I mean, I don't know who to compare them to in terms of levels, but to me, if you let's take the Springboks. Whenever the Springboks play Namibia, they're going to win by 60 to 60 plus points, which is about 10 tries. So let's equate a try for a goal. Whenever the Boks play Namibia in rugby, they win 10-0, 10-1, 11-1, 12-1. So I mean that's how the rugby team deals with Namibia. Why isn't our soccer team dealing with them in the same way, in the same sort of dominance?
That is very true, and with respect to Norwich and as well as Derby County, I meant to say Scunthorpe, Scunthorpe, and Gillingham and all those teams. So whenever we come up against them, whether it's a friendly or whatever, I'm expecting us to always win. Obviously, in my mind, I would have probably liked better opposition than Namibia, but these past two games just showed that we don't deserve better opposition, and there's still a lot of work that we need to do ourselves. And with Namibia, they had more shots at goal than what we did. They had more goal attempts than us. We had all the possession. We're just passing it around. And one thing that was clear from both games with Zambia and as well as Namibia was there was no clear plan from the coach himself. There was no clear plan. He changed the teams too many times, too many substitutions in both games. So if Kevin is asking me, what is the problem with South African football? What is the problem with Bafana Bafana? There's a lot of things that are wrong. Firstly, the coach, I don't think he is up to it. I think he is. This is a big pond for him. This is quicksand for him. I don't think he is. He's not sort of proved himself. So people know when Mulifeteki came in, he was the assistant coach to Stuart Baxter, who was the guy who took us to the AFCON and did really well and took us all the way to the quarterfinals of the AFCON. And then he left, and eventually they appointed Mulifeteki, and they appointed him.
When Baxter left, was he pushed out, or did he leave of his own accord?
Yeah, so I mean, the story is that he left on his own accord. I mean, there was a disconnect between him and some of the supporters. Probably half the fan base were happy with what he did, and then the other half was like, "We don't like how you're playing, this, and that, and all that stuff." So
I wonder how that fan base is liking how they're playing now.
I can tell you right now, Kevin, they are absolutely hating it. And
what do you think the kind of process is now with the coach? Do you think he's sort of in hot water? Do you think he could be facing getting pushed out?
I gotta be honest with you, Oliver. I think Safa like having him there purely because of he's obviously worked there for a very long time in terms of 10 years and all that stuff. And I think also because he discusses a lot with them. But from a supporter's point of view, I can probably stand here and say probably 90% of South Africa think he's not up for the job, and I think he showed it with the way he handled both games. Qualifiers are coming soon for the AFCON and for the World Cup as well. And you sort of think to yourself, he's not the right man for the job. But also, secondly, he's not the only problem. Secondly, as well, is the fact that the planning from our federation as well. The planning from our federation as well, in terms of there's youth players that we have that are playing all over the world and all stuff. Some are in Portugal, some are in Belgium and all that stuff. And the whole planning procedure in terms to keep looking at them, keep making sure that they are growing as well, that's not really happening as well. There's also like a huge disconnect with our federation and as well as our league structures within South Africa. There's like a huge disconnect, and it's showing on the pitch. Administration is not great, and it's showing on the pitch. I think, if anything, I said this to my friends over the weekend, if you ever wanted confirmation of maybe how far back our federation has gone or our federation not being so great, was if you had seen when the game started, the kit sponsors are new. Lecoq Sportif are the new kit sponsors. They sponsor the kit. They made the jerseys that the players were playing in. But in the Zambia game, it was raining, and the raincoats that the coaches and the technical team was wearing on the side were not Lecoq Sportif. They were actually previously Nike's branding. So what they did was they took black tape and they put black tape over the Nike marks. And I was like, that is...
Yeah, that's indicative of a way bigger problem, though, at every structural level when you get sports teams that, there's mix-ups with sponsors and they don't have like enough kits and everything. It just indicates all the other things that are sort of going wrong.
Well, there's lots of money in the South African game. I mean, it wasn't too long ago, and I still think we're running it. You look at the Chiefs and Orlando Pirates. They got a 2 billion rand sponsorship for just those two teams. So there's money in South Africa. There's an expectation. There's a well-organized league. It's televised. There's lots of money that SuperSport paid for those rights. There's huge money in South African soccer, and how it's not transporting or trickling down to a strong national team.
Yeah.
I mean, we still play in front of empty stadiums when it comes to Bafana Bafana, which is just unbelievable.
And do you think there's a disconnect between that league and the national setup? So sort of national coaching and management versus like league coaching and management?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's the whole thing for me, is that I just feel like the federation are just so disconnected with what the leagues and the teams are doing as well. And they're not looking after also our youth players that are really doing well. And even with the coach as well, some of the call-ups that he did was just not off. I mean, he didn't call up Bongani Zungu, for example, and Bongani Zungu, for me, is one of our better players. And it was almost a bit of an own goal, because Bongani Zungu was announced by Rangers as a new signing, and there was a big hoo-ha about it. But he's not part of our Bafana team for whatever reason. And his excuse is, we have to try and build on new faces and all that stuff. But that new face that he brought into the team in his place was 3 years older than him. So I don't know what he's talking about in terms of new face.
Yeah.
So I think it's the coach. The coach is not ready for this job, I feel. And then secondly, as well as the federation as well, they're falling behind, and it's showing on the pitch. It's showing with the kits. It's showing with the raincoats. It's showing with, they're just falling behind, and they need a wake-up call, and they need to do an overhaul in order if they want to get back to the glory days. And you're right. I mean, it's not like, if we're going to proclaim we're one of the best leagues within the world and this and that and this, and with the resources that we have, we just hosted the World Cup like 10 years ago. We had those structures to do that. But if we are going to be doing that and still getting administrative errors and all that stuff, then there's clearly a lot that needs to change. Not just the coach, but the federation needs an overhaul.
Yeah, we should be qualifying for every Nations Cup. We should be qualifying for every World Cup, and we're nowhere near that right now.
Yeah, and that's the funny part, Kevin, is that if you saw the team that Zambia played, that was not even their best team. That was not even their best team, and they pressed better than us. They had a plan better than us as well, and we took the lead first. And all I was doing was, I was watching this game. I was just praying that we're able to manage the game. Just manage the game. That's all you have to do. Manage the game. They're going to push men forward. Just find the gaps as they're pushing the men forward. And we're not able to do that. And the coach needs to instruct that. The coach needs to be able to put that together. And he was not able to put that together. It was a reality check for people who love the game, for people who love South African football, to know that this is how far behind we are. And we shouldn't be this far behind, but this is where we're at.
Yeah, it's quite sad, hey?
Yeah, no, Kevin, it's a very sad place to be in. Obviously, you have to be honest with yourself and say it is not a great place to be in. Is this whole situation fixable? Of course it is, but decisions need to be taken, and a lot of changes need to happen as well. Because even with Namibia, regardless of where they're ranking in the FIFA rankings, regardless of the players that they have, they played with a plan. They knew that we had better players than them. So they came with a plan. They played on the counter. They were defending very well. And even despite the fact that they went behind, they still kept on going. The same with Zambia too. Even though they went behind, they kept on going. There was sort of a plan that they wanted to do. Whereas with us, and that coach as well, Mulifrenzegi, I think he showed that this is not your level, man. Like, this is not it. This is not it. It's too high.
When is the next game for Bafana Bafana?
So the next game here, we play. It's the African Cup of Nations qualifiers. We play against Sao Tome, home and away. This, for me, in my mind, we should be winning these games with our eyes closed.
Who do we play?
Sao Tome.
Who are they?
No, they're an African country. They're an African country. So they're classed as an African country, but that is Sao Tome that we're playing next, and we should be winning that. But the problem with South Africa is, in recent history, or in the past history, we have went to Mauritania and we've lost against them. We've played Seychelles at home, we won 6-0, and when we played them away, we drew that game as well. So people can sit here and say we're supposed to win it and then something could happen, but we definitely need to win both games for sure. And obviously with our last qualifier, that will be Ghana, but that will only be played next year. So for now, Sao Tome home and away, that's going to be next month.
For everything that's sort of going wrong, are there any positives when you look at the international setup, maybe from a player's point of view, young guys coming in or older guys that can still do the job? Do you think there are, like you said, it is a fixable thing? How is it fixable, and sort of what's the course?
Okay, so obviously, what is fixable in my opinion is obviously get more football people within our football federations. You need to get more people within that. We need our federation communicating with our league structures, communicating with our development structures as well. We need scouts, people who are going to be watching how our players are doing overseas. Thirdly, as well, call up our best players. We're not Spain. We're not Germany. We don't have 4 players who can play in one position that are all really good. So let's call up our best players all the time. Check on the progress of the youngsters of the players. Communicate with the other stakeholders, and as well as get a coach that has a plan.
Yeah.
Get a coach that has a plan, not a guy who doesn't have a plan. And nothing is, there were positives. There were some players who stepped up. Tirang Pete, he started against Namibia. He was comfortable on the ball. He plays in Portugal for Belenenses, and he was comfortable on the ball. He was really good. Percy Tau played in the game against Zambia. He was really good, making runs against the defenders as usual, showing the quality that he has. With Madisha as well in the Zambia game was really good. If it wasn't for him, we probably would have lost that game 5-1 because he was defending everything. He even made our captain look really good, and our captain was not so good. So there were positives to take, but what would need to happen is get football people within the federation, communicate with the leagues, communicate with our development structures, get scouts who watch our boys overseas, and get a coach who has a plan. And also patience. Is
the fan base here more club over country than country over club? Because I see more passion and anger when Pirates or the Chiefs lose a game than when Bafana Bafana lose a game, which doesn't happen in rugby.
Oh, I would honestly say without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I will say the time when Bafana Bafana won the AFCON, it really did bring the nation together. It was really a great moment. But just the way Kaizer Chiefs and Pirates and Sundowns have grown as brands and all stuff, they do pull fans together a hell of a lot. And I would say most fans would pick that Orlando Pirates wins all the trophies than for probably Bafana to win the AFCON.
Okay, well, that says it all then, doesn't it? We need to get more passionate Bafana Bafana fans rather than it's a cart and a horse scenario, isn't it? I mean,
Kevin, Bafana need to win games.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's kind of like when the Springboks lost to Italy. Tough to convert any fans or new fans to the Springbok cause when they're losing games to Italy. But you can see what they did by winning the World Cup and having a good run. I just can't remember the last time Bafana Bafana had a good run.
Yeah, that. You're definitely right about that. I think the most I've ever felt emotional as a Bafana fan was obviously when we beat Egypt last year. But before then, it's been such a very long time. And mind you, when we did win the AFCON, I was very young. So I've never really fell in love with the idea of winning an AFCON. And I would love us to do it again so that I can be old and I can celebrate it properly.
There you go. You can drink. You can have a drink over it.
I don't want to say it, but yeah, if I can have a drink over it.
Okay, well, thanks for that, Shakes. And let's hope that Bafana Bafana get their shit together, basically.
Well, I hope, Kevin. I hope they're listening.
We live in hope.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother, and I'll see you again soon next week, and later this week with the Premier League starting up, and we can start talking some real football.
And everyone will be.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Much better football, I guess.
Thanks, Shakes.
Just Shakes.
Take care, guys.